They want to rescue damsels in distress. They have to pay the bills. The continuing adventures of Indrajit and Fix. Welcome to Kish. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Hemvar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of DJ Butler's Between Princesses and Other Jobs. Between Princesses and Other Jobs is a 2023 fix-up novel of Indrajit and Fix stories, almost all being previously published, though I'm not going to tell you where you can read those, since you can just get this and read them all here. You should buy this. Anyways, I read In the Palace of Shadow and Joy, which I've also previously reviewed, at the end of 2020. It is the first chronological story of this duo of Indrajit and Fix. And it is a novel as well, not a fix-up novel. But you can easily start here as there's no really overarching plot. I've actually read many of these stories in other anthologies where they were originally published, but some of them I had not yet read. So we have Indrajit, who of course is a bard of sorts. He's really the blotchy recital thing. His purpose is to memorize his people's epic and then to find an apprentice to pass it on to. He is green-tinted, and with his eyes so far apart, he looks kind of like a fish. Fix is dark skin and a typical inhabitant of the far future city of Kish. He is short and stocky with a feminine voice. He was once an acolyte of the god of useless knowledge before becoming a jobber, which only happened since he left the religious order to chase a woman who married someone else. So the city of Kish itself sits atop the ruins of many others. London, I think, would be included in that, actually, from conversations I've had with Butler, but that's never said in the story. And so far in the future, humanity was split into 1,000 subspecies in some war forever ago, right? So the first story in this collection, though, is Sacrifices, which was originally found on Bane's website. It is a short tale about Indrajit and Fix, and a great taste if you're not completely sure about getting this collection or the first novel, since it should also still be free on Bane's website, I'd imagine. It does spoil who they start working for at the end of that first novel, but again, are you really spoiled since it's a story about, the duo when the duo is together anyways? It's like being upset about Fafhrd and the Grey Monster being together if you didn't read Man Linkmar first or something. Anyways, so I don't think it actually matters. Anyways, I also don't feel like anyone should feel ripped off, all right, about that. So, but this story itself is about Fix and Indrajit on a job to check out a shipwreck of a Pelthine ambassador. It is a great example of sword and sorcery, and it works really well, right? Short stories are good, guys. Then story 2 is No Trade for Nice Guys. It's about a stolen necklace. It starts with a ridiculous and quick conversation with a being that does not even have a neck, but the necklace was seen on his wife. This leads them to the puppeteer, a sort of mafia man. It's a subversion of heroes, and a rather comic one at that, as their heroes are quite the buffoons sometimes, just like Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I love Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, by the way, and I love Indrajit and Fix. This one has a great Lovecraftian figure and thievery shenanigans, like the first novel, and it deals with the idea of truth. Story 3 is Backup. It involves tea and dangerous illiteracy. I had previously read it, but it was a joyful revisitation. A good example, again, of what short stories can be. As you can tell, I don't actually go out of my way to read almost any character. I like reading short stories. I love sword and sorcery short stories in particular. But Indrajit and Fix are one of the characters that I actually would go out of my way to read. So anyways, now let's talk about story number 4, The Path of the Hunter. Someone has murdered a merchant once. He and his partners had acquired an item of value from the east. We get hints of the far future setting, which was really cool, actually. And it's also about epics and cats. It's a great story. Power and Prestige is honestly one of my favorite short stories. I mentioned it in a video I recommended some short stories in with Christopher Rocchio last year, I believe. It's funny, but really cool. The key part is that a new member joins the protagonist, Munahim, who has the head of a dog. It's about going into the underworld and what people will do for power and prestige. And it's a good lesson. Then we have The Lady in the Pit, which is a dark tale of unrequited love, and a scene that reminded me some of Moander from the Finder's Stone trilogy, if you've read that. The last 3 stories are longer and more connected, like Liber's Rhyme Isle stories, if you've read those. These are collectively Welcome to Kish. The first is The Name of the Monster, the second, The Caveats of Salish Bozar, the third, The End of the Story. You get some good commentary here I think most would enjoy, also some developments in overarching areas, for sure. And then the next story is Good Boy. You might also be able to guess it's about a dog-headed human named Munahim, the other member of the protagonist. And then The Politics of Wizards is a novella just about that. So I don't really have much more to tell you. There are, as times, ways to compare Butler here to Vance and Leiber and other authors of wit and entertainment. But I should clarify that Butler is not in their shadows in conversation, sure, but Butler has his own style and his own humor that really shines through. The variety of Butler's style is another plus to the man's skills, since reading his other works, you get different voices each time. That's something only the best authors can accomplish, and Butler does a great job of it. In fact, it's probably easy. Not to mention, it's rather deep and funny, such as the idea of literacy and humanity. It really peels back the idea of transhumanism or posthumanism. It doesn't get into all the tech sci-fi does normally, but it brings us back to our roots. Similarly, we have the importance of the stars and the place we fit in the world. And honestly, I think this is just a book you should check out, and from an author that deserves more attention. I also really like how effortlessly it's not just your typical medieval European derived fantasy. It doesn't feel like that at all. Besides the comic bits, it just seems very exotic almost. Mostly because of these humans that are not quite what we'd call humans wandering around. Just along also with the city of Kish itself, though. So we don't really have cities quite like that as well. But anyways, this has been Liam's Lyceum. I will catch you next time.